because of the way the propaganda works online, literally anyone can be radicalized, and you don't realize that you're being groomed into a cult. I wanted stable ground. I came from a very disorganized life, and I didn't know how to get a handle on it. I had a lot of emotional issues around anxiety, depression, and ADHD, and I wasn't getting treatment for any of these things. And the answers of everyone around me seemed so complicated and unattainable. But the answers that I got from the content creators that I listened to, they had just such a clear and directed focus and path of how to solve it. And that path became increasingly more dark as I went through. Ideas about male supremacy, racial supremacy, the dangers of Muslim immigration, or the dangers of liberalism. I was being told that in order to get those things, all the things that I wanted in life, the stability, the happiness, that solid ground, that this was the pathway to doing that. And you don't realize that you're being groomed into a cult. It was like I was in this whole other world. It was like a soap opera. There's this huge epic drama. And that's what I was watching. I was watching a movie on a screen. The alt-right and things like QAnon and a lot of these, I'd put them on the dangerous side of the cult spectrum.
I am 100% behind Q. He's working for the president. He's working for our country.
They are totalist in their control. They demand total obedience to the ideology. They are very, very hostile to the, any sort of outgroup. There's a sort of walling off of information that happens. In my life, I basically became very abrasive and argumentative and increasingly more angry and negative. These were all things that were already aspects of me, but that propaganda in that world was amplifying all the worst parts of me. I think anybody is capable of the worst kind of violence. And when I saw Christchurch happen, it made me feel a sense of urgency because I thought, well, this isn't just some internet thing. This is going to keep happening.
It is clear that this can now only be described as a terrorist attack.
That event right there, it is the logical conclusion of a belief system as heinous as white nationalism. When I left, I came across counter content in the form of the Twitch streamer Destiny.
I unironically love this channel.
Who disengaged me in a way by attacking the figureheads that I had watched and discrediting them on their terms, embarrassing them in public YouTube debates.
I am like a Democrat or progressive. You'd call me a leftist in the United States, but for people online that talk about like socialism and Marxism, I would not be considered a leftist. I'd be considered a liberal.
And then also I was going into Discord communities and meeting people all over the world, and this very narrow worldview that I'd been given, I realized that it was a lot more complicated, and then I had a lot more allies in places I didn't expect. When I look at something like January 6th, I was there that day and taking pictures, and the thing I was looking at was the different groups. You have your people, which are your desperate ones. They're being inspired by the messages of hope coming from Trump and from these movements. You have your truth seekers who feel that the world's, slighted them or screwed them over, and in many ways it has. And so these turn into your conspiracy theorists. And so there really is not one reason that everybody's joining this. But to me, what's more terrifying is this sort of broader tent that this ideology is creating, this sort of, fake populist, directionless movement which riles people up and turns them against their governments and makes it basically to where democracy can't function. It's almost like your country is full of sleeper cells. That's really, really, really terrifying. The way that we push back on this threat is first get people the material needs that they need in their life. Food, shelter, healthcare. Get people things in their life that give them purpose. That could be a church, it could be a community. And in terms of the internet, people got to be more mindful when they're on social media. There needs to be more regulations on social media. What we really need, though, is we need a new way to have this conversation about far-right cults, about supremacist cults, about white nationalism, approaching it from this very offensive, direct, trying to cancel people or push people out of society. It's not going to work anymore because it's not just young white men getting radicalized into this. It's not just people out in the country, it's not just Republicans, it's not just the uneducated, it's literally everyone. The truth is much more nuanced and difficult and uncomfortable than the simple answers of extremists.